Welcome to the Two-Ton Nerds. As always, my name is Max James. It is October 8th, 2014, which means it's day 8 of the 31 Days of Fright horror movie project, year 3, and the movie of the day is American Mary. My first impressions of this movie was really good. I really liked it. I thought it was fun to watch. I enjoyed the movie because it was very visually striking, and I'll get more into that when I start to cover the gore and scare factor of the movie. But I really liked it when the first credits of the end of the movie started to roll. I'm like, I didn't regret watching it. I didn't hate it. I liked it. I mean, given the plot of the movie, which is a girl who's going into medical school, who's going to be a surgeon, falls on dire straits and financial troubles, and she ends up looking for a job online, and happens to be the whole cliche, I'm going to go strip my way through medical school. But during the interview, an incident happens and requires her surgical skills, and she's really good at it. So it's $5,000, no questions asked. So she does the job, takes the money, and goes home. Then the next day, she's constantly getting calls from this unknown caller, and she has this really high-pitched Betty Boop voice, which comes into play a little bit. And then she's like, I got a friend who needs your help, and because she accidentally left her resume at the strip joint. So, and she's like, I'll offer you $10,000 to do this job, and I'll just give you $2,000 for showing up. So she performs the job. They're both heavily modified. The person who's wanting her to do the job for the friend, and the friend who's getting the procedure. They are very heavily modified. I would tell you how they are modified. One looks like Betty Boop, but the other one I want to leave a mystery, because I was very shocked to see what she wanted and why she wanted it, and it was just like, oh wow. But it fit well within the movie, and it was like, all right. So she did it, and after that, she kind of has this. But when she does it, her financial troubles is starting to kind of ease away. But she also is like having troubles in school, because this instructor her teacher is just berating her, and it's just like, come on, calm down, dude. But I know it's medical school and you can't make mistakes, but the way he's going about it is very tough, and he's cussing at her and being really rough. But from the get-go, he something's up with him. So he invites. So she's going through more schooling, and during her I can't think of the word. While they're all at the hospital and going through the various things at the hospital, she gets invited to this party, and that's where this movie really starts to take a turn. That's where Mary's views on things kind of shift quite a bit. She is invited to this party. She's under the impression that it's going to be fellow surgeons there, and just going to be just to get together. But it ends up being much, much more. She ends up getting drugged and raped by the instructor, her teacher, and then she ends up taking it out on him. And she ends up practicing on him, basically. You don't see what she does until much later in the movie, but it's bad. That's one of the visually striking images from the movie, is when you finally see him. And that's about the only spoiler I'm going to give you, is that it's very, very visually striking for a horror movie. Then she starts opening her own business, and she dropped out of med school, and she's doing body modifications, splitting of the tongue, and then she kind of various other procedures, and there's a little montage of her work and stuff like that. But there's another scene kind of where the movie kind of focuses on these two twins for a little bit, and they want to. I can't tell you because it's another where, like, really they want that done, and they're very odd, and it's just like, okay. She's like, no problem, I can do it. So they do it, and it's like, okay, that's it. But And then the movie kind of takes another shift from there. But that's where the movie kind of loses itself a little bit towards the end of the movie. But I really wanted to turn it off by that point because it was such a good movie up to this point. I don't want to ruin it. But it didn't quite kill the movie, unlike some movies I've watched in the past where the ending just completely destroys everything that has come before it. But it was okay. It kind of made sense, but it was kind of anticlimactic. But I still recommend it. But the acting in the movie is really good. You got Catherine Isabel, if you recognize her from Ginger Snaps movies, which I really do love. It's one of my favorite werewolf movies of all time. Then there's a few other people. I don't recognize any of the other people in this movie. I really don't. There's a cop in the movie, but I recognize him from an episode of Supernatural. So, but they're all good. I mean, they're not, they don't hinder the movie in any way in the terms of acting, at least to me. And then the scare and gore factor. This is where the movie that's where the visually striking image is coming from. There's really no gore or blood in this movie. I mean, there's some blood and guts. There's really no guts in the movie. There's just mainly blood and incisions, but it's just nothing you would see in a medical show or something like that. But it's done to classical music, so it kind of gives it this artsy feel. And then there are some scenes where it's just straight out blood and very intense scenes, and that's where that visually striking images come from, because it's all in your mind. All the cutting of big parts and all the stuff that is going on and all the things that have come before, it's all done obscured, and it's all in your mind, and that your mind does much more worse than what's on screen. So that's what I liked about this movie. It was more mental horror, because it's all in your head, and it's like, oh dear God, what is going on? And they just show hints and blood dripping, and it's just like, oh wow, you'll get what I mean if you see it. But other than that, it's a pretty decent movie. I really did like it. So I'm going to tell you my classification scale. 1 being run-of-the-mill horror, 2 best watch with the group, 3 more than average horror but adds nothing new to the horror genre, 4 it's helped move the horror genre forward, and 5 being a horror classic. American Mary is a 3. It's a pretty decent 3. It's more than average horror because it's all in your mind. Decent acting. The special effects is all done practical, which is a big thing in my book. I love practical horror effects. I will choose that any day of the week over CGI horror. Any day of the week, I really would. I'll probably dedicate that next Sunday. But anyways, it's a strong 3, like I said, because it's all done practical. The horror is all mental. And the acting's pretty decent, and the gore and stuff like that. It's just it's all realistic and to some point. Suspension of disbelief, and there are some scenes where it's it is quite horrifying what's just shown on screen, especially to this one guy. I'm about to say poor guy, but I forgot what he did. So, but he kind of deserved it. So he really did deserve it. So that's really about it. That's all I can say about this movie. It's really good. I highly recommend it. It's a 3, more than average horror, but adds nothing new to the horror genre. And that's it. My name is Max James, and I'm going to go geek out.